Hi guys, welcome to the channel. Today's video is part 4 where we will manually retopologize the model, adding clothing along the way. So starting off by making a new collection for the clothing and accessories. Turning on snap to face, project individual elements, align rotation to target, and then adding a single vertex. Adding a mirror modifier, then going to extrude a vertex out, and then turning on clipping. Up to the matte cap options and turning on back face culling, and then going to add a material here. I'm going to change the viewport display color to something bright. We don't see the color show up right away since the normals are flipped right now. I flip them in about a minute or so. Now back to the modifiers and adding a shrink wrap modifier, and then selecting the high poly body mesh as the target. I'm going to make use of the built-in Blender add-on called F2 here. This makes manual retopology like we're going to do here a little bit easier. Now you can hold Control and right-click to automatically create quads like this. Very handy. I'm going to toggle off the select parameter for the high poly mesh so we don't accidentally select it going forward while we retopologize. I can't see the viewport color here because, as I mentioned before, the normals are flipped, so just tabbing into edit mode and then pressing Shift N to recalculate. Now you can see the green we added before. This makes it a little bit easier just to see as you retopologize. Okay, so now we can start retopologizing to add the clothes in. Just going to use a lot of simple extruding, adding control loops, and moving vertices around. I like to make loops around the neck and arms to start, and then complete sort of the edges of the mesh that are perpendicular to each other, and then fill in the patches between them. Try to make sure you have the same number of vertices on both sides of the arm. Now just extruding new vertices around to match the loop we just made. Switching to edge mode and then selecting the outer edge here, and you can now press F all the way around. It'll automatically create quad faces for you. The F2 add-on has a handy shortcut where if you select the corner vertex like this and then press F, it will automatically create a quad for you. And here you can turn on auto merge so that you can build quads quicker. If the auto merge doesn't seem to want to work, you can change the distance in the options menu like this. And there you can see the vert automatically merges for you, which makes making quads a lot quicker and easier. I'm going to speed up the video here for a minute since this is a little bit repetitive. Okay, so now I'm going to add in a solidify modifier and a subdivision modifier, as well as add shade smooth. You can see there are some issues with the mesh now, and this is due to some vertices at the mirror edge overlapping, so just select and move them until it corrects itself. Now onto the pants and shoes. I'm going to speed up the video here again since this is a very repetitive portion. I'm just trying to follow the flow of the model with the vertices as best as I can while trying to maintain quads at all times. There are some great tools out there to help with doing this sort of thing a little bit quicker, as I will show later in the video. There are automatic retopology tools as well, like Instant Mesh, which is free. They are arguably not as good and can have their own problems, but can help speed things up. I put a link in the description below to Instant Mesh. You can even use Blender's built-in remesh / retopology tools like the voxel remesher or quadraflow remesher, but I ultimately find that they just don't do as good a job as the manual way. Moving on to the shoulder to create a sort of t-shirt look. For the shoulders, generally you want to create a sort of cap to follow the flow of the shoulder shape better, rather than just trying to wrap loops around it. Onto the hands, my rough idea of the character has him wearing fingerless gloves, so I'm just going to retopologize that portion of the hand right now and do the fingers later with a free/paid add-on that makes these sort of things a little bit quicker. Now I'm going to add a little detail to the vest by adding a collar, adding a control loop with Control R, and then pressing GG to edge slide, then E and then F to align to the edge I want, then E to extrude up. Now you can see tabbing into object mode that it kind of looks messed up, and that's because the vertices here are still shrink wrapped back down to the body mesh. To stop this from happening, you can tab back into edit mode and then press Control I to invert your selection to everything but the new vertices you just extruded. Then over on the vertex groups panel on the right, click here to create a new vertex group. This will be called group by default. Then press assign. This will assign all of the selected vertices to the vertex group called group. Then over to the modifier panel, go to the shrink wrap modifier, and under the vertex group option, select the newly created vertex group called group, and now you have a collar. Temporarily turning off clipping here in the mirror modifier to create an opening for the collar. Now I'm going to use the same method I used for the collar to create some stacking of material for the pants. I'm going to separate each of the clothing items now by selecting the corresponding vertices and then pressing P and separating by selection. Now, I have a little bit of a gap between the t-shirt and the vest, and to get rid of that, I'm going to tab into edit mode on the vest, select the ring of vertices here, and then press Shift D to duplicate, and then P to separate by selection. Make sure you have auto merge vertices off here, or else this will not work. Then, in object mode, select the shirt sleeves and the new ring of vertices you just separated, and press Ctrl J to join them. Now tab back into edit mode, Alt left click the two loops here, and then press F3, type bridge, and then select bridge edge loops to automatically join them. Now you can play with the thickness of the vest and shirt to get the kind of desired look. I thought I'd add in some details on the shoes by doing the same method as before that I used for the collar, extruding some faces out, removing from the vertex group. I also press Control B to add a bevel to the edges to tighten things up a bit. Then also pressing Shift R to repeat the bevel on the other edges so that the bevels are somewhat consistent. Okay, so stealing a vertex from the vest to create the eyebrows and eyelashes. Okay, so to do the face and the rest of the body, I'm going to use a free add-on called Retopoflow. You can get this for free through GitHub. It is also for sale on Blender Market and Gumroad if you like the product and would like to support the developers. My favorite thing about this tool is the Contours tool, which makes doing things like the body and fingers very fast and easy, as you'll see. Just pull it across and it does the rest pretty much. My second favorite tool of Retopoflow is the Polypen tool, which makes creating custom shaped quads very easy, as you can see here. Retopology is a little bit of an art form in itself. I would highly recommend a popular YouTuber by the name of Danny Mac 3D. He has some great tutorials on retopologizing the face and body. I've put a link in the description below. So instead of moving vertices manually one by one like this, another great tool in Retopoflow is the tweak tool, which kind of works like a sculpting grab brush. Creating loops around the eyes, mandible, mouth, and ear to start. Then creating a band around the back of the head. Then kind of filling in the spaces in between. Because I'm not doing any sort of crazy animation or deformation, and I'm not good at retopology, this retopology is a little bit rough around the edges. I am trying to practice Danny Mac 3D's formula on retopologizing faces without referencing his videos to try and get better. As you can see, I still got some work to do. Okay, so retopology is more or less done. I'm going to make a copy of this just as a backup and then do a little tweaking on the mesh since I have some vertices not converging properly along the mirror edge. I also forgot to do the back of the ears, so I fixed that quickly here. Now I'm going to apply the mirror modifier and then add a multi-resolution modifier. Then I'm going to subdivide a few times and then add a shrink wrap modifier. Selecting the high poly mesh as the target and then changing the mode to project. Then I'm going to scroll down and tick the negative direction box. There's a little hiccup along the eyelid here, so I just pulled them out a bit to fix it. Here I notice I also forgot to do the tips of the fingers, so I fill those in with quads like this. And there you have it, retopology done. That was quite the slog. The next part we will start adding in some detail to the clothing and then UV unwrapping. Thanks for watching guys, I hope it helped and see you in the next one.